So how do we help them? We're an ombudsman for them. We try to help them navigate the city planning, permitting processes. We try to help them with information and resources for their businesses to grow. And we're here trying to attract new employment base to the city. And we work very closely with our county counterparts as well, and often as well with our state counterparts at the Department of Commerce. So we're here to provide a connection between the resources, to talk about incentives and so forth, and we'll get to some of that in the presentation. So we couldn't do it alone. It is a team sport. As I told you, we work very closely with county and state. We also work with some of the other development partners that you see, such as the Golden Mile Alliance, East Frederick Rising, Downtown Frederick Partnership, Fort Detrick Alliance, Gen Connect. We basically all work together to try to build this community here in Frederick, which we think is absolutely fantastic. It's an easy sell when we're talking to companies because we have such a great thing going here in Frederick. So we couldn't do it without some of these groups, and most of these groups are, other than the governmental ones, tend to be nonprofit, specializing in a particular area and expertise. So what do we have to sell here in Frederick? Well, we have a great workforce. We have a great talent pool here. We have an incredible, beautiful municipality, and we have great buildings and great infrastructure. We have the ability and capacity to draw more businesses here to Frederick. So what's great about Frederick? Well, we keep getting all these national awards, and these are just a few of the ones that are kind of cool. Top places to live, top cities for recent grads, top areas for growth potential. Of course, this was kind of cool. Top place for craft beer. We do a very thriving craft beverage industry, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. So we keep getting these accolades, and I'm sure you guys are out there in the trenches. You're meeting with people every day, and you know Frederick's great, so it's an easy sell, right? But what's important about Frederick, we're part of this triangle between Baltimore and DC. So often when we're attracting businesses to this area, they have a relationship in the region. And Baltimore and DC are they're internationally known as well, and Frederick is that third point of the business triangle. So what's important, you know, I-270, it's considered the I-270 technology corridor. And why that's important to us, we have a lot of businesses that are staggered along that highway that are doing very important business in the life sciences and technology world. So you have things like, in our area, Fort Detrick, you have the Frederick National Cancer Lab, and you have just all those different resource groups and the businesses that crop up because of these national, like NIST and NIH. So you talk about city, you talk about county. I thought it would be good to give you just a little bit of breakdown about how the city fits into the county. The city has about a third of the population is located within the municipality. And our municipality stretches from, as far over as, say, the Keys Stadium, over towards the Golden Mile, up towards Fort Detrick, up towards the north end of town. And we'll talk about some of those quadrants. Basically about a small landmass when you think about it to have that size, and we're looking at density, the higher density of not only population but businesses. If you look at the number of businesses, almost half of the businesses are located within the city. So, and the number of jobs, you can see also almost half of the number of jobs that we have in Frederick are within the city, within city limits. So some quick facts, and we do have a lot of this information on our website, so when you're talking to people and they want to know, well, what's it like here in Frederick, we do have our quick facts available on our website, so you'll be able to go and pull that information. This I thought was interesting to show you the number of, when you talk about permits pulled and so forth, and you look at about 38% residential, 33% commercial. So we still have a lot of growth going on in the business sector as well. And it just gives you a little breakdown by valuation to show you the level of business that's being done in the city and county. And we always have great bond ratings too. We go up, and we just had a very successful bond meeting this past fall. So jobs. The jobs that we have within the city of Frederick, pretty diversified. So I think that's one of the things that makes our area a little bit, I say a little more recession-proof, but basically we're diversified between manufacturing and life sciences and government and education and financial services and construction. And you can see it's spread over these industries, and that helps us be a little stronger and not being so reliant if one large company pulls out of our marketplace. And we all know State Farm, right? And State Farm's going to be leaving soon. There's still a couple hundred jobs there. But when we lose those jobs, we hope that we'll be able to replace some of those with all the other industry growth that we have. So here are some of our key employers right now. Of course, Frederick County Public School Systems, one of our large employers, Wells Fargo. We have government, we have community colleges, we have Hood College, Frederick Community College. We have life sciences, we have AstraZeneca. We have health services, Frederick Memorial Health System. We have the Frederick National Cancer Lab. We have Fort Detrick. Fort Detrick is our combined largest employer when you talk about all the different entities that are on Fort Detrick. Okay, so we look at our major employers. You can see that Fort Detrick, 5,900 jobs just in Fort Detrick alone. Frederick County Public School System, 5,700. And you can see that a lot of them are in the 500 plus for our large employers. But honestly, most of the Frederick businesses are made up with 1 to 4 employees. The majority of businesses that we have. Only about 1% are in this top echelon of businesses. So it helps us again with our diversification strategies. So I thought you'd be interested in this. You deal with taxes all the time. Who are our top taxpayers in Frederick? Well, it's life sciences, you see right at the top there with Leidos and AstraZeneca, followed by Wells Fargo, which is has a large presence over there in Riverside. And again, some of the others are State Farm building too, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So what do we do? So economic development, we're out there trying to talk to certain industries and try to say, what are our strengths and so forth in our community? These are our target industries. These are the industries that we have here that are successful, that we also think that there's going to be growth in those industries. So we have the life science and biotech industries, and you'll see a lot of that even out here in this office park as well. And there's a lot in the Riverside area. Technology, growing, thriving tech community, not only in downtown but outside, and that includes cyber and advanced technology. Manufacturing, still a strong base here in Frederick for manufacturing. But what we are seeing is manufacturing is starting to become more of an advanced manufacturing and a high-tech manufacturing world. Healthcare is still big, and of course tourism. People do love to come here and visit Frederick because of its history, the history that we have, plus all the cool factor, the historic factor that we have going on downtown with all the great buildings along Carroll Creek. So let's talk about the bio industry. Why is that important? 80 companies in Frederick alone, and that's city and county. So we have Fort Detrick, we have the National Cancer Lab, we have AstraZeneca here, which is the largest biopharmaceutical manufacturer in the country. They have an incredible facility there, and they continue to grow, And then we also have our Frederick Innovative Technology Center. They have a presence here in the county off of English Muffin Way, and they have a presence in downtown on Market Street. And what that is an incubator program, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So with this cultures, where cultures connect, we actually used this marketing ploy when we went to Bio. So we attend a lot of national conferences. And we attended the Bio conference in Baltimore. And our purpose there is to try to find companies that are looking at growing and expanding. We say, hey, consider us. And so we partnered together with city, county, and with state Department of Commerce at these conferences. Yes?
Have they announced yet who is coming to Arena, that 900 job?
No, they have not.
Okay.
It's coming. Not at liberty to say. It's still under confidentiality, but it's coming. So again, Fort Detrick, why is that important? That is where there's a significant amount of research being done on cancer, on AIDS, on some of those diseases for which there are no cures. And these are the things that are happening at Fort Detrick. And why is it important? Largest employer, $2.1 billion economic impact in Maryland. So it's important to always keep an eye on what's happening at the fort. And also the fact that the technology transfer. And what happens is a lot of the technologies that are developed on the fort can also be commercialized and brought to businesses outside of the fort. And then you see them sell those to businesses throughout the world. So the commercialization is a very important piece of having the Fort Detrick in our park. So again, I said another great targeted industry for us is technology. Tech is just growing like leaps and bounds. There's a good tech corridor there going on. We've had some large groups like Yakabad and Regent and so forth over in that Union Knitting Mills area of Frederick along Carroll Creek. And why do they like Frederick so much? Because they can attract talent. They feel like that we have the talent pool and we can continue to attract talent here because they like living in downtown. They love the proximity of living close to all the municipality and all the things that the city has to offer. So we're seeing a lot of growth in the technology world. The top photo is a fun thing they do every year called the Tech Games. And it's a bunch of adults and even people like me and the mayor even participated. And we did these fun games out in Baker Park. And it was a great way for you to network with all the technology companies and so forth. So again, hip and historic. And they also see because we have a significant millennial population growing here in Frederick. So manufacturing. Frederick's always had a long manufacturing history. And we have some significant manufacturers. We have Stoltz, which is an international company based from Germany. They have a large presence here. They continue to grow. Last year they just brought in another 20,000 square feet. Continue to win awards. They were just recognized for their innovation and use of solar and energy. We have Edco that just expanded again last year to its second location. They have a location on Thomas Johnson. They expanded to another location at Riverside on the north side of town. And then we have groups like Wilcoxon, brand new, a company that we recruited. Well, I guess they decided to come to Frederick. They were in Montgomery County, and they decided that a lot of their workforce lived here. So they moved about 100 jobs here this past fall. So we do have those kinds of success stories where they say, hey, we see what Frederick has to offer. And I would ask that all of you, you're the people on the street, you know the people that live here and that are traveling down the road, if you think that they have an interest in bringing their company here, want to talk about the resources available to bringing their company here, hook them up with us. We'd be happy to talk with them and let them at least know what those opportunities might be. And where would Frederick be without craft beer and beverages? It is a growing industry, and we are getting national accolades for this. So right now, there are, in the city alone, there's 5 breweries. The last one just opened on Carroll Creek, it's Idiom. There's House Cat and so forth. You can see some of the logos there. And there's also distillers. We have quite a few distillers, and there's more coming. So one of the things I can tell you that we had Richard from our department, as well as Katie from the county, went down and made a presentation in New Orleans to the American Planning Association because of the great things that we've done to enable the legislative changes to enable the craft brewery industry and craft beverage industry to thrive here in Frederick. So, and what's cool about it is they all work together because they realize there's strength in numbers and about bringing people here. And you'll see we have some of the ones that, of course, has been here the longest would be Phil Bowers and the Monocacy Brewing Company. They've been here from day one. So business incubation and acceleration, that's important to the city and the county because that's where your startup businesses go. Remember we talked about Fort Detrick and we talked about some of the commercialization opportunities that are coming out of there. A lot of these people in the incubators are people that have a day gig and they're developing the latest and greatest technology, and they're going to take that and they take it to all new levels. Now, one of the huge success story from this Frederick Innovative Technology Center, the one out here at English Muffin, is Rooster Bio. They're right out here, former Bechtel building. They grew from just a small workforce of a couple people to over 25 employees when they started there, and they're still growing. So that's what we like to see, is support those startup businesses here in Frederick. So Fitzy has the center here off of English Muffin Way, and that's primarily lab space, more towards the life science end. The Fitzy downtown in the Root building, that tends to be more geared towards technology startups. So if you hear somebody that's saying, hey, I want to try to start up a new business, it's a great way because it's kind of, think about it as almost like shared office space, shared lab space, shared workspace. And by doing so, the program also provides mentorship. So help them get through the business aspects of trying to get their idea commercialized. So great, if you ever get a chance to visit, I would encourage you to do that. And Root is also home to County Economic Development, the Chambers there, Hood College has a presence there, Crest is another educational resource, and there's also some space for partners, Small Business Development Center, Maryland Women's Business Center, and the Department of Commerce. So I thought we'd talk a little bit today about where some of the growth is going to be happening in the city, because I know you guys are listening to people moving in and they want to know maybe where the businesses are going to be and so forth. So we're going to go through each of the key areas. This information is on our website. It's interactive, so you can actually pull up, say for example, this property here. You can click on it and find out what's happening there. So it's really kind of helpful if you have somebody that's moving into a residential neighborhood and they go, what's happening with that large commercial tract there? At least you'll have an idea of what it's zoned, and you'll have an idea of what might be, what it's being marketed as. So let's talk about East Frederick. Well, there's a lot of stuff happening over in East Frederick right now. Just to give you a point of reference, that's Monocacy Boulevard and that's Schifferstadt. And so we'll talk about some of the big projects in, so you have the Monocacy Gateway project at the corner of Schifferstadt and Monocacy Boulevard, and that's geared for 140,000 square feet of some general commercial, and it also has a large industrial tract too. So about 25% of it's retail, and about 75% of it's going to be limited industrial, light industrial. You have Wren Quarters. That's going to be 1,000 new rooftops coming online. So there's a significant amount of growth that's happening in that corridor in Wren Quarter. Monocacy Boulevard tract is actually owned by the city. We have interest from some companies there to go there, and we're just hoping that that will come to fruition as well. And we have our airport. I don't know how many of you know about our airport. We have a great resource. It's owned by the city of Frederick. The city of Frederick manages the airport. And we basically have some expansion opportunities that are happening there. So AOPA just signed an agreement to construct a whole bunch of new hangar space, because right now all the hangar space is being leased out and used. So we know there's growth there. And what's important, even when Amazon was considering coming to our marketplace, we actually shared information about this resource with our airport to Montgomery County, because it is outside the no-fly zone. So it's a great place for corporate jets to come in and out of, and it's easy for them to fly in, get to their Montgomery County meeting, and fly back out. So great resource. We actually even have staff that go to a national conference there to help promote all the business activities that revolve around the airport. So if you ever get a chance to go visit, it's a great resource here. How many of you get questions about Monocacy Boulevard? I'm sure, right? It's moving along, and we are still being told April.
April of this year?
April of this year.
Thank goodness.
I know. I'm there with you. I'm one of the people.
For me, like I've been missing that.
Oh, I know, and it's so needed. And once it opens up, I think it's going to take a little bit of time for people to kind of get back into their little routes and so forth. But you can see it involved taking out the curve here. A new bridge was constructed. And it's going to help open that back up to Riverside, plus open everything back up to easy access to 270. So I know it's been short-term nuisance, but a long-term gain for the city. Great project with a lot of state funds. So let's talk about downtown. The Carroll Creek area, beautiful downtown. There are still development sites there that will help us continue to grow our employment base, and there's some of the sites are have potential for residential development. So we'll talk about the downtown hotel project next, but you have Union Knitting Mills, which is going really well. You took an old, historic manufacturing plant that had not been used in a lot of time, and Douglas Development came in and made it beautiful. So if you get a chance, go visit the building. Again, we have technology companies in there. We have, there's also some restaurant retail space available there too as well. McCutcheon's Mill has always had an expansion plan on trying to get another segment built You have sites J and K, which are future development sites that the city owns. You have the Galleria, One Commerce Plaza, those are right on Carroll Creek. Probably more residential with some restaurant retail. And then you have the Governor Schaefer Building, which is a prime redevelopment opportunity. Governor Schaefer Building is at All Saints Street, and that building was used by the Department of Social Services, and then they moved down further off Market Street, so it's basically an empty building right now. So it's a really great opportunity for redeveloping that building. So the Downtown Hotel and Conference Center, lots of discussion going on about that. It's going to be amazing with guest room, event space. It'll be on the creek, terraces, just it's going to be phenomenal. What's the holdup? The holdup is getting the funding to do the infrastructure piece. And the infrastructure piece is the parking and the improvements there. The hotel is being developed, if you imagine everything above ground, that's being developed by Plumondon. The infrastructure piece is city. And so we're waiting on trying to get to resolve the funding piece of that. And you'll hear that a lot about that in the latest legislative sessions.
When's that anticipated for?
I still don't have a firm timeline. I think we're still hopeful that, 2021. So if you go to West Frederick area, everybody recognizes that lovely piece of real estate. There are some great things happening out in West Frederick. I serve on the Golden Mile Alliance, which is a great group if you ever want to get engaged with nonprofits. They have board level positions, committee level positions, and all of these groups need people like you to get engaged with them. So let's talk a little bit about what's happening at the mall. Warehouse Cinemas just had a great presentation last Tuesday by Rich Daughtridge, who is with High Rock, and talked about all the cool things that are happening with Warehouse Cinemas. So I encourage you to go online, Google it, Warehouse Cinemas Frederick. You can see some interactive virtual reality stuff, so you can see what it's going to look like. We're really excited about it. It's going to be up on the end where the cinema used to be, up on the Home Depot end of the mall. And I know that the mall owners have also are working with a restaurant there, and they have other interest in spaces in the mall. What's great about it, falls in the enterprise zone. Enterprise zone isn't important for residential purposes, but it is important for commercial purposes. It gives you tax credits, also gives you income tax credits for job creation. So important if somebody wants to bring their business and they want to locate in one of these incentive zones, enterprise zone could be a really great thing. And it runs along the whole, that whole corridor from 15 basically all the way out to about where Weiss. And you're also going to see a new, there is also a new grocery store coming out there on the end on Western Drive, new international market. So North Frederick, most of the growth that we're going to see in the city is on the north end of town. And you've seen some of the major improvements here with the 15 interchange. And that's been great, hasn't it? Opening that up and getting, so we will see some other future development in those areas. Northgate Crossing is a retail center that's planned there. Trading Lane, there's definitely some general commercial tracks. Nothing in the works yet for them, but again, future potential. And then you have things like the State Farm Building, which is currently being marketed either re-tenanted or it could be redeveloped. So just understand that process, because companies of that size just don't come along every day. It's 387,000 square feet. It's a large facility, and it's so they're looking at exploring what that might look like in the future. So we'll talk about Riverside. We talked about life sciences and how life sciences was very important to Frederick in general, both city and county. Riverside Corporate Park, there's a good amount of life science and technology companies that are located in Riverside. So some of the areas include River Run, Broadband Professional Center. It's home to the National Cancer Lab, so that's an attraction. If you do business with the National Cancer Lab, sometimes you may want to have a company that's located nearby. And when I talked about Will Coxon, that new advanced manufacturer they came into Riverside. So we're seeing there are pad sites there, easy to develop, easy to bring companies in and get a building constructed for them. You are going to see some major announcements probably within the next month. I'm not at liberty to say of some groups that are coming here. So just stay tuned. So something that we do at economic development, we always have people coming in. I just met with a business this morning, or somebody wanted to start a business. We do that all the time. That's what we do. So if you ever hear somebody saying, they don't know where to start, we're a good place to start because we can point them in directions. But we also get a lot of questions about, well, if I move my company here, what are the incentives? Or what can you do for me? Or, you know, and so we don't always have a lot of great tools, but we do have some tools that we can work with. So with regards to the county doesn't have business personal property tax. So for manufacturers, that's a really important thing. So the city recognized this and has its own phase out of business personal property tax that's occurring now. So important, and definitely important on that for manufacturers. Some of the other things to know about would be the tax credit programs. And that's going to be very, it could be geographically oriented, so you need to kind of know if it's in downtown, there could be a specific program. If it's in the Golden Mile area, that's a different program. So you kind of have to know your areas. But what I'll tell you is all this incentive programs on our website. It's great. Vacant property tax credits, property been empty for a long time, there could be a tax credit for that. Historic preservation, arts and entertainment. So these various districts provide incentives to help bring old assets up to, and give them new life and new speed. On the city level, we have a small business microgrant program. It's called the GROW program. That can help, it's primarily designated for, we hope it's for manufacturers, technology companies, life science companies, if somebody came out of an incubator. But it's just a matching grant program to help them with some of their infrastructure needs. They need to build out a space to get to build out their office. So there are also facade improvement grants, and I would think some of these, this might be of importance to you, especially you can see some of the downtown examples of the before and after. Facade grant programs are managed by, they come through our department, but they're managed by the agencies. So they're managed by Golden Mile Alliance, Downtown Frederick Partnership, and East Frederick Rising. And these facade grants, the money, we file for a grant, we get the money, and they have an allocation every year. So they have different allocations, and they do tend to go pretty quickly, but it's a great way as a matching grant to do a facade uplift. And it could be painting, it could be signage, it could be something structural. So I would tell you to look into that. You can go to the Downtown Frederick Partnership website. Every one of these organizations on their website have information about these facade grants. So it's important, especially for some of those older buildings in downtown. Also in downtown Frederick, there's a Mission Interior grant. So if you're a small retailer and you need help with, you want to redo your interior to sell more stuff, the Mission Interior grant is very competitive. They had quite a few people apply last year, gave out all their funding. They'll probably do it again this spring. So we touched a little bit about the enterprise zone. What's important about that, again, is the state income tax credits for job creation. We definitely have had some new businesses opening up on the mile. We see a lot of momentum. You're going to see some banners going up on the mile this spring. You're going to see some of these new businesses opening up. You see some new housing, Integrity Homes and so forth has some new housing down in and around the VFW property. So they came and gave a presentation to the Golden Mile Alliance. That's why it's important to kind of know about these other groups. Attend their meetings, listen in, because you're going to get a lot of good information and insight about where you're doing business. And the real property tax credits, it could be a 10-year tax credit. So it's based upon, you establish the basis for maybe the older dated building, and then you're going to improve the building. The tax credit is on the differential. So this is really a cool thing that's just happened. Frederick happened across the country. It's a federal program, Opportunity Zones. You're going to hear a lot of talk about Opportunity Zones. Why is it important? Most of you have heard of a 1031 exchange? This is different. This allows you to come in and put money in. You have to have a realized gain. So you have to have a gain from maybe the sale of stock, sale of an asset. And again, I'm not a tax accountant. I'll put that as a disclaimer. And then you take that and you're going to invest in one of these opportunity zones. So why is it important? We talked about some of those projects on Carroll Creek. That Galleria, the Wormhole project, those are all in an opportunity zone. That Governor Schaefer building's in an opportunity zone. So the person, the group, could be a partnership or a group, invest in that opportunity fund, and that money, if it's left in for 10 years, what grows out of that money is tax-free money. So they don't have to worry about reinvesting, they don't have to worry. So it's just a great way. And the key about this opportunity fund, why it's so important, there's zones in Frederick, there's in county, there's some in the city, there are some in Brunswick. So again, Brunswick also has an enterprise zone too, just in case you didn't know that. Brunswick does have an enterprise zone. So what's important is you can either invest in the real estate, you can invest in a fund, or you can invest in a business. And the business could be, say you have a business that's trying to take it to the next level. If they could get some other source funding in because of being in an opportunity zone. So we always tell people that it's really important to talk with your accountant, talk with your lawyer, to get more insight about that, but we are definitely hearing more buzz about opportunity zone properties because of the opportunity to grow money tax-free. So we do have a great informational, in fact, I would encourage you all to sign up for our e-news at the City of Frederick. We also have a Business in Frederick blog, and we're going to have a great little tutorial about like an easy way to understand opportunity zones. So I would just encourage you, that'll be breaking next week. So you'll be able to see that. So with regards to opportunity zones, I just wanted to let you know that there are 2 sites that are important. And again, we'll share this with you because they don't have tiny URLs. They should create some easy URLs for you to be able to find this. But if you Google opportunity zone map, Frederick has its own map. So if you know of a property, business, or fund, you can list your property for free on these sites. You can also list it on the state site. The state just launched its own version of an opportunity zone. We were actually like one step ahead of them. We worked very closely with county and city, and the county helped us develop the infrastructure behind this website. And basically, you can see some of the properties that are listed in opportunity zones. Now, not everybody's on there. So we're just encouraging you, as you know, or as you stumble across properties that might be important, that might be interested in opportunity zones, they just fill out a form. It's a really simple form. It gets uploaded, and then it's on both sites. We encourage you to have them on both sites, both the state and the city-county site. And to tell you who we are, Richard Griffin is the director for the Department of Economic Development. Richard runs 4 departments at the city. He's responsible for airport and parking and Weinberg. And I'm like the day-to-day person at Economic Development. We also have Becky Kaler, who's a business development specialist, and Donna Goff, who's an economic development specialist. So if you can't reach me, you can call any of us. We'd be glad to try to help you as you navigate whatever it is. We're just another resource for you, for your company, for your businesses, and for your clients. So with that, does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, quick question for you. Do you know anything about Middletown? Does that fall under your group?
Middletown would be under county, but I can connect you with someone that could help you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Get one of my cards. And I have cards up here if anybody needs it afterwards.
And you are going to share the PowerPoint, correct?
Yes, I'll share the PowerPoint with you.
Thank
We
you.
will do that because it's easier, then you can just click on these links and so forth.
Yes.
Any other questions? Wow, that's great. Well, thank you for having me, and like I said, we're a resource for you, so I look forward to seeing some of you somewhere.
I have
Yeah?
a question. So the Monocacy Gateway, so that's on the corner of the Schipperstadt and Monocacy, right?
Mhm.
Where that farm is?
Yeah.
Then next to that was the
you have
development
red
for East
quarters.
Church, right? So East Church and then that big farm.